To go. Just make sure they get off of mute when we're ready. All right, let's get this started. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Mayfield Board of Education, April 28th, 2021 meeting. Mr. Snyder, can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Finaro.
Here.
Ms. Grosek.
Here.
Mr. Hess.
Here.
Mr. Hughes.
Here.
Mr. Teresi.
Here.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Tonight, we have a student of the month for April. Our student of the month is Haley Dorner from Excel Tech. She's a 12th grader. And congratulations, Haley, and your mom. And I think Dr. Kelly is going to read you your proclamation.
Absolutely. As you know, we have a very special guest here tonight that we want to honor. Her name is Haley Dorner. Wave to everyone, Haley. Thank you, because we didn't want anybody to mistake your mom for you. Okay, we didn't want to do that there. So Haley, we are super proud of you, and we do have a proclamation. You probably have it at home already. Is that right? Good. So I'm going to read this to you so that everyone can hear about all the wonderful things that you are doing. The Mayfield City School District and the Mayfield Board of Education present your proclamation, this proclamation, to Haley Dorner, Student of the Month from Excel Tech and Mayfield High School. Whereas Haley is a senior at Mayfield High School in the Excel Tech CAD, which means Computer Aided Drafting and Design program, who holds a 3.94 GPA and is a member of the National Technical Honor Society. Congratulations on that as well. Whereas Haley, from the start of her high school career, has held a strong passion for engineering. Haley has proven to be an excellent student, whether she is studying engineering, architecture, product design, or other CAD subjects. Haley is always all in. And whereas Haley is a valuable asset to any team project because of her personality and positive outlook. She is always smiling. Even with the uncertainty in the early days of remote learning, Haley was smiling every day when she joined remote class meetings. And her positive outlook continues now during in-person learning. Whereas Haley Dorner was the first senior to approach CAD teacher, Mr. Schmidt, Mr. Schmidt's in the background there, with an interest in an internship in Bowden Manufacturing. That's awesome. She was not only hired, but Bowden's CEO gave Haley a glowing review. Whereas Haley has signed with the University of Dayton, UD Flyers, to study industrial engineering, CAD teacher Mr. Schmidt said, students often inspire teachers. Haley is definitely an inspiration to me. And I would say, Haley, you're an inspiration to all of us. Now, therefore, be it resolved on behalf of all the members of the Mayfield School community, Haley is named the Mayfield Board of Education Student of the Month for Excel Tech Mayfield High School on this day, April 28th, 2021. Congratulations, Haley. That is really, really impressive. And I'm just absolutely sure you're going to be just a very valued member of an engineering team when you finish your studies at University of Dayton. I'm absolutely certain of it. Congratulations. We're proud of you. And Mom, thank you for allowing us to work with such a wonderful young woman. You have to unmute yourselves if you're
on
saying
mute.
something.
Yep.
Yeah.
There you go.
No, thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Our pleasure.
Congratulations again. Good luck at Dayton.
Thank you.
All right. For our next item on the agenda, we have our presentations. We have the Excel Tech building presentation. Mr. Nate Bishko, the Career Tech Director, will give us a short presentation. And then our CAD engineering teacher, Craig Schmidt, will talk about all access learning. Craig, you have the virtual meeting. or Nate, whoever's starting off. And Nate, you're on mute.
Actually, I'm gonna share my screen, and Mr. Schmidt is gonna kick it off for us. And that way we're only just sharing one screen. And then as soon as he's finished with his first portion, I'm gonna just give you an overview of what's been going on in Excel Tech throughout this global pandemic. So let me share my
thank you.
screen here.
Do I need to make Craig a co-host then?
No. I'm just gonna. He only has a couple slides, so he's just gonna tell me when
Okay.
when to go. All right. So let's see. Are you guys seeing that?
Yep.
We
Okay.
are.
Okay. Mr. Schmidt, you have the floor, sir.
All right, thank you. So what does all access learning mean in our career tech world? And so we're going to talk about agency, engagement, outcomes, and opportunity. And so as far as agency is concerned, we've got flexibility in our learning paths. And one thing that exists in quite a few career technical programs is self-paced or asynchronous learning. And for example, like information technology and programming has different modules with programming and website design and things that are all self-paced. We have computer-aided drafting tutorials that are self-paced, and we've had those for 13 years actually. Even things where in our program we have taken projects that maybe you wouldn't think could be self-paced, like a product redesign project, and turned that into a self-paced unit. Several of our programs have OSHA training, so the students will leave the program with an industry credential, with an OSHA card and certificate, and those are all self-paced as well. So there's lots of flexibility with the learning paths there. Project and assignment choices, we have that existing throughout career tech. For example, in CAD, students would have the opportunity to choose a project to redesign, to choose a model to create with computer-aided drafting. We have that across all of our disciplines in Excel Tech, where students have project or assignment choices. Brainstorming project schedules, that's one thing that we do in CAD, is that students are involved, especially when we deal with a long-term project. There's one that we work on basically that starts in October and ends in January. The one that normally ties into the Home and Garden Show design competition, and the students are involved in creating that schedule. So they brainstorm that literally from the beginning, and then they work against that schedule. And sometimes that collaboration crosses programs, with things like our involvement with construction trades. The students collaborated on the schedule for those projects. When our students collaborated with welding to design the East Lake Skate Park, there was collaboration. So there's collaboration between programs, construction trades and environmental ed when their house project is landscaped. And so another aspect is tracking progress. And so programs do this in different ways, but students in many cases self-track their progress, almost like a timesheet per se. And so, and it all centers on the student. And if there are issues, it's very easy for a teacher to identify it when the students are tracking this. And then we can act accordingly one-on-one, and utilizing things like Google Keep to help students track progress. That app has been extremely successful. And then when we look at in-person versus remote learning, I mean, one huge aspect of career tech education is our equipment. And when we were remote, we didn't have access to the equipment, whether it was computers or whether it was fab lab equipment, or construction trades didn't have access to their lab. ITP, information technology and programming, interactive media, they all have extensive computers like we do. And so we had to make some adjustments with that. And for example, ITP was fairly okay with what they had with their different learning modules. But in our case, in CAD's case, we have very powerful computers, and students were not, I think I had, out of my 50 students, I think I had 5 that actually had a computer that would run our software. And so that meant modifying things. And then even when we came back live, or came back in person, we still had a handful of remote students. And so we found some software alternatives where those students could use browser-based modeling programs, for example, in our program, where they could still execute the same projects remotely and actually gain knowledge of another app that they would not have had in our program. And thankfully, they had a lot of involvement in SolidWorks last year, so that was the program that they were not able to run online. So they really did not miss out on a thing when they went remote, and we made that substitution. And then the next aspect is engagement and strong teacher-student relationships. One thing, we have the kids for 2 years, and so that helps us build some great relationships. And, even that summer between year 1 and year 2, we'll hear from students, maybe starting to make decisions about college and things like that. And one thing, we all want to be in person, obviously, but one thing that came from remote learning, and I've heard this from several instructors, is when we conferenced with students. So we deliberately set up a time at least once a week where we spent 4 or 5 minutes with a student and with every student. And I can tell you, my senior class, there's not a senior class that I've known better than this one. And I knew my juniors, every single one of them, when they walked in the door. And so that was, there's many more negatives being remote, but this was one thing, one eye opener as far as remote learning. As far as outcomes are concerned, for example, in our program, design thinking is used quite extensively, and we talk about in all access learning, it's okay to fail forward. One aspect of design thinking is fail early to succeed sooner, and so that allows students to create several iterations of a project. And that same thing is done if students are designing a website in ITP, or doing graphics in or doing graphics or a video in interactive media. And literally that's been in effect in my program literally since 2008. We have been using design thinking. And again, here, helping us helping us with outcomes, students track the progress. We make adjustments based on the progress. So if we need to go back and reteach something based on this tracking, we can do that. And we've got great information at our fingertips. And building on prior learning and experiences, you really can't go forward in one of our programs unless you are building on that foundation, because usually everything's connected. And so we may need to go back one-on-one and work with students, or have small groups work together to build on those experiences. And then the last aspect is opportunity. And in career tech education, there are lots of opportunities for things like project-based learning. And career tech education, project-based learning has been an aspect of career tech education for decades. And, we hear the words deep learning, authentic projects, things of that nature. And maybe project-based learning looked a little different 20 or 30 years back. It was more trades-based, where, construction trades is building a home, or auto mechanics is restoring a car. But that has evolved into programs like ours, and like information technology and programming, and so forth. I mentioned our product redesign unit. That's a very authentic project where the kids redesign a kitchen gadget. Our students were involved in a row house redesign project in New York City on an actual lot, as part of the National Association of Women in Construction, their contest this year. ITP designs websites and apps. Interactive Media is doing graphic design work. And collaboration this year looks a little different, with our different situations, in each program, and and having to focus on different things based on whether we were remote or in person. So collaboration looks a little different, but we have just started our 36th collaborative project since we moved into the Innovation Center. And this year they are smaller in scope. We are working on a script sign with one of our consortium cities. I can't say what it is until it comes out at City Council, but it's similar to the Cleveland script sign. And we've had several other small projects with other programs, like our culinary program, our fire and EMT program as well. And then finally, internship opportunities. And that has looked a little different this year as well. For example, MedTech has not had that many opportunities because of COVID and hospitals and so forth. But there are some programs that are on the upswing. I've heard positive things from several programs. I know our program, we have a new partner. You mentioned the Bowden Manufacturing earlier. We have WLS Stamping in Highland Heights that has established a partnership with us, and we've got 3 or 4 past internships that we're talking about. And so the engineering world and the computer-based world is a little different than some of the other programs. So that's an overview of how all access learning interfaces into the career tech world.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Mr. Schmidt. Real quick for the board, it's funny, Craig mentioned he kind of breezed past it in terms of the collaboration with culinary. It happened to be a lesson that I observed him this year, and he rolled it out. They were actually creating on the 3D printer. Culinary wanted them to create, I believe it was a cookie press, Craig, where they could imprint cookies to sell with their Beechwood Bistro logo on it. So Craig and I always joke about how opportunities just fall in his lap for CAD, and it's always so true. Every year he gets 3, 4, 5, 6 different kind of collaborative projects. So couldn't be happier with the work he's done with CAD and all our teachers for that matter. So I'm going to keep it moving if that's okay with the board. Again, maybe about 5 to 10 at most. Just a quick overview, 30,000 foot level of what's going on with Excel Tech. So you see the headline, not even a pandemic slows us down. Going into this year, I obviously, along with our staff, we were worried about our application numbers. We knew we were going to see a drop. It was inevitable with everything going on. And so you'll see I'm not going to go through all the data points here, but what you'll see is as of 2 days ago, we have 518 new students enrolled for the upcoming school year as juniors in our programs. So whereas we went down 29% in applications, we only went down 11% in enrollment, and that number is only going to get better as we continue to add students to programs, because we do still have slots available. So our counselors at the home schools, our office here is continuously working on trying to fill those open slots. Just a quick college credit update. As most everyone knows, all of our programs are associated with articulated agreements. A majority of those are with Lakeland and Tri-C. We've really beefed up our CTAG numbers recently. And the difference is that those CTAG credits, those are governed by Ohio Department of Higher Education. And so that means that any CTAG credits a student takes with them must be accepted at any 2- or 4-year public college in the state of Ohio. So I'll use my middle daughter, McKenna, graduated from Med Tech last year. She got 3 semester hours for medical terminology, except at any public college in the state of Ohio. So those are the kind of opportunities. And I actually, before this this meeting, I went through our spreadsheet of all the agreements and CTAG credits, and you'll see at the bottom here, we've a total of 871 college credits available across all of our programs. We're very happy with probably in the last 3 to 4 years, we've picked up with Kent State and University of Akron. So just, I mean, tremendous opportunities for kids to seize the opportunity for credit. And this is I love showing parents this chart because this is our data from the last, now we don't have 2020 for obvious reasons because of the pandemic, but you'll see just the amount of college credits that our kids are taking with them from both community colleges, the amount of tuition that they save. And this doesn't take into account, there's no measuring metric for CTAG data across the state. So we can't even tell how many kids have capitalized on CTAG credits across the state in terms of tuition and savings on tuition. So you can see right there, the data is very clear that our kids are seizing the opportunities they have in front of them. So one of the things I wanted to really hit on, because I'm very passionate about this, is, if I go back to my undergrad days in the 90s and my graduate school in the early 2000s, we've been hearing about closing the achievement gap for years and years and years. And it doesn't matter the model, we've gone from OGT to AIR to PARCC. Now we have end of course assessments. We also have SAT, ACT. So when you look at all these standardized metrics, Career Tech also has standardized metrics. We have to take web exams. So every Career Tech program pathway has 4 courses within them. Our kids have to take an end of course exam for each of those 4 courses, okay? So when we look at our technical skill attainment from our graduating class in 2019, okay, so this is our end of course assessment in Career Tech. I want you to just take a look at the lowest score is our students with disabilities at 68, almost a C- clip. I don't know of another metric in standardized testing where you have Black students outscore white students. And I really want to highlight just again, how important this is when people talk about closing the achievement gap, because in Career Tech, it may be the only sector in education where that achievement gap does not exist. Okay. And you can look at this data, not just for Excel Tech, look at it across the state. I challenge you to look at it and you're going to see very similar numbers. Okay. We're very, very proud of that because again, as we all know, Excel Tech is probably the most diverse compact when you talk about the students we're bringing in across the state of Ohio. And when I say diverse, I'm meaning not just race. I'm talking about socioeconomic status. I'm talking about ethnic status. It's across the board. I mean, we're pulling from 4 counties and 11 high schools. All of them bring with them their own different kinds of culture. But I so wanted to highlight these points. When you look at post-program placement by subgroup, again, this is class of 2019, you see we're blowing it through the roof across the board. Again, remember guys, we have to track our kids 1 year after graduation. And as I always tell parents, we're going to pretty much guarantee if you come into an Excel Tech program, we're going to get you out of the house doing something positive, whether it be military, going to college, or being immediately employed in your pathway. And the last piece of data I wanted to show is just the 4-year graduation rate. Again, with our subgroups, you don't see any subgroup below 90%. Now, granted, I understand we get them as juniors, so it's a little easier to get to that finish line of graduation by that point. But once again, this is just data that I can present to parents and basically tell them, if your son or daughter enrolls in a career tech program, we can virtually guarantee they will graduate. Okay. So just some data I really wanted to highlight about the achievement gap and how it just doesn't exist in career tech. One of the things I just wanted to highlight briefly is something that literally just happened within the last month. I was fortunate to have a meeting with Tammy Kleins and Renee Augustine up at Mayfield City Hall. Renee Augustine, I believe, is their human resource person, but more importantly, she's the parent of two of our Excel Tech graduates, one out of our ITP program and one out of our cosmetology program. But long story short, just had an introductory meeting with them about developing some partnerships. I was very excited to hear them tell us that the city of Mayfield Heights has a home. I believe it's right at the entrance of, I want to say, the park that sits behind Golden Gate. Don't quote me on that, but so immediately when I heard that, Dr. Kelly, as you know, that's been one of my kind of dream projects. We would love to get involved with somebody, an organization, and rehab a home for a family. But other synergies that are just going to kind of come up and seem like no-brainers is environmental ed. If there are projects around the city, we are very eager to get involved with that. They just redesigned how they broadcast their city council meetings, and they took me into the room, and it looked like a control room for NASA or something. And that's something I can envision our ITP kids getting involved with. So just on the brink of some partnerships here with a city that's part of our consortium is pretty exciting. And so the last thing I wanted to really highlight and just show you a 2.5-minute intro video. This year, obviously, with Excel Tech, the entire year revolves around pretty much one big event, and that's Opportunity Day. Okay. And with that, we couldn't bring normally our Opportunity Day, we bring in over 1,000 sophomores to Mayfield High School. Most of you are familiar with how the gym gets set up, almost in a career fair setting. And we're cycling through those 1,000 sophomores so they can visit 2 programs, hear about the programs from the instructors. And then in the evening, we bring usually around 400 parents back for the same thing. Well, obviously we couldn't do that this year, so we had to get creative. Now you add in the fact that Joe Hayes, who is our counselor, does over 90 presentations to schools when he's going out to the schools in October and November to present information about our programs. He had to do much of that virtually. Then you add in interview day, where we have approximately 750 to 80 kids that we have to interview. That was handled all virtually this year through just a tremendous collaborative effort with our guidance counselors across all high schools. And our office here, in terms of Kay Vince and Denise Klug, they work their rear ends off like you can't believe, in organizing and facilitating, 800 interviews across 11 high schools and 24 programs. So we couldn't be more proud of the work that our team has put in this year, highlighted by, again, we had to get creative. And as you've probably read here, we started our brand new YouTube channel. We contracted with Delaney Canfield, who's a Mayfield grad. She's an Excel Tech grad, class of 2014 or 15. She came out of our digital art and design program, and it was pretty simple. We called her and I said, Delaney, we got to update all our program videos. How can you help us out? And she went to every single one of our programs. Some she had to get creative and get footage from them from maybe a year ago and putting stuff together, but every program teacher did an interview. And so now we have 24 channels on our YouTube station as well as an intro. So I'm going to play the intro for everyone real quick, and then I'll take any questions that you guys have. Now, I'm hoping this will work. with the stream and volume. Can you guys hear that? Give me a thumbs up. Okay.
Hello, prospective Excel Tech students and families. My name is Nate Dishko. I'm the director of Excel Tech programs. Welcome to the Excel Tech YouTube channel. We are so excited to be able to provide you information specific to all of our programs. The Excel Tech Career Technical Education Compact consists of 24 unique career technical education programs made up of 10 school districts, 11 high schools, and geographically, we're spread over 4 counties in Northeast Ohio. Our 24 programs cover a wide spectrum of career fields and provide students with authentic hands-on experiences. Within Excel Tech, there are several programs that have mandatory internships and also the potential to earn an industry-recognized credential that can propel you into the career of your choice. In addition to providing hands-on experiences and preparation for the workforce, every single one of these workforce development programs has college credits that students can earn and take with them to several colleges and universities. We're extremely proud of our 95% post-secondary placement rate. And what this means is that almost every student who completes an Excel Tech program does one of 3 things. They will be immediately employed in their career field, they will go to college, or they'll enter the military. Finally, I'd like to highlight what may be the biggest advantage of joining an Excel Tech program, and that is our diversity. When you look at the 11 high schools that comprise Excel Tech, we're bringing students together from a myriad of different backgrounds, different races, different nationalities, different religious backgrounds, and different ethnicities. We bring them together and we pride ourselves in teaching them to respect and embrace those differences, to learn to collaborate and to work together and ultimately become better citizens because of it. We hope that you enjoy Opportunity Week as you view the program videos of your choice, and I urge you to contact our office with any questions you may have. Thanks for tuning in. And make the right choice. Choose Excel Tech.
All right. So as you can see, lots of stuff going on with our programs. Again, I guess the last thing I'll say is, you know, and I say this to parents a lot, this isn't something that is just a job to so many of us, because I can point out several staff members, including myself, who have had children go through career tech programs. My daughter, as I alluded to earlier, graduated from med tech. My son right now is a junior at Brush, and he is absolutely in love with the exercise science and sports rehab program. I know Mr. Schmidt's daughter went through our TEACH program. Again, Suchi's kid went through CAD. So there's so many of us who, again, it's not just a job to us. We actually believe in what we're doing. And I think that's important to note. So as always, I appreciate presenting to the board. Wish I could do it in person. Not a fan of the Zoom, for the record. But I thank everyone for allowing me to present today. And thank you, Dr. Kelly.
Great job.
Well done, Nate.
Thank you.
Great job. Yep.
Absolutely outstanding.
Thank you, guys.
Awesome, Nate.
So do you guys have any questions from the slides? Anything?
You know what, Nate, it's such great work that you're doing, and to see the opportunities and to see those 4 charts that you presented, it tells a great story. I mean, to see that information and to be able to show people that what this does and get kids into careers if they're not going to college or into the military. It's a wonderful program. You guys do a wonderful job, and I appreciate everything you do. And I'm happy to see that, this pandemic didn't slow you guys down. You might have saw a little hit in applications, but I think your numbers are going to be there by the time school starts in August. So keep up the great work with what everybody's doing over there.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ron. I appreciate it.
Nate, I so much appreciate you highlighting the diversity of your programs, but also the diversity of your students and your students' families and the cultures they come from. And I think your point about the achievement gap is a powerful one. Mm-hmm. And I think the reason it's so powerful is because we all have something to learn from it. And, you know, it really does go back to, and I don't want to sound cliche, you sound like a cliche here, but it really does go back to what agency and engagement and outcome and opportunities really mean.
Yeah.
Right.
And like Craig said, relationships, they're with the kids 2 years, 3 hours a day.
Absolutely. And as Mr. Schmidt said, said earlier, that these things have been around Career Tech for many years.
Yeah,
right?
we laughed about that one.
Yeah.
He said project-based learning that's the original Career Tech model.
Absolutely. And maybe finally we're starting to learn from that.
Yeah.
But awesome work, but it's also the talent of your staff.
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
I say it all the time. So lucky. I really am.
Yeah, it is. And you guys are
great
amazing. And you changed so many lives, literally.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. You should be proud.
Thank you. Thank you everyone again for allowing us to present.
You bet.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, we're glad you were here, even though you do not like Zoom. I'm not a fan of it either after a year and a half of it.
Yeah.
Daily with calls. So I'm with you on that.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you guys. Bye. Have a good night.
Thank you.
All right. Great job. The next item we have is our president's announcements. We've got a long agenda, so I don't have many tonight. I just want to congratulate the Mayfield High School on being named the best high school by the U.S. News and World Report. I think that came out yesterday. Probably Dr. Kelly's going to mention that, so I probably stepped on your toes there a little bit, but I do that out every month, it seems. And then last thing I want to just say is I'm looking forward to getting back to some of these end of the year events that we all missed last year, and to be able to participate in them and be in attendance to see the accomplishments of all these students and what they've achieved and what they've earned. So that's all I have for tonight. We'll move on to the superintendent's announcements.
So just building off of you, Mr. Finaro, we also got word a little bit later that niche.com, which is a very comprehensive rating system of school districts across the nation, also gave us a grade of A, not only the high school, but all of our schools in our school district, and ranked us pretty high in the state of Ohio, in fact. So so those rankings are coming out. I'm sure the Washington Post will come out in the typical ones that we typically earn, but it's great stuff, that's for sure. We did the CVEC graduation commencement taping the last couple of days, and that was it was really sentimental. As you know, the whole CVEC commencement ceremony is extremely impactful and sentimental for families and staff. And even though it was taped today, the students were just beaming, and the staff did a super job. So look forward to that coming out. Speaking of things out there, if you haven't seen the K-12 virtual art show, that's online. Just go to our website. You'll see it's pretty cool. And I don't know if you mentioned this the last time, but I think officially the Mayfield Schools Foundation Top Golf Outing raised $24,000 to support innovative learning in the school district. So that's real neat as well. And that was really a great time for sure. Also, if you don't know, baseball's 13-2, right? Go Wildcats. Softball's young, but they've won the last 2 games. We have one of the best tennis players in the state. Tennis is having a kind of a 50-50 year at 6-6, but UConn Wang is one of the best players in the state. And track and field is likely to have more than a couple kids qualify for state, including Nick Biaga is one of the top runners in the state, and I think he is only a sophomore. So good stuff happening this spring in sports as well.
Nick is very fast.
He is.
I've seen a few videos of him run, and he shoots past everybody.
Yeah.
How did the vaccinations go yesterday? Was that yesterday? That was yesterday.
Yeah, we had the vaccinations went well. It was smooth. All
for the students, if everybody's wondering, for the students.
For students over 16, all those who signed up, virtually all of them attended, came and got vaccinated. We'll have some final numbers, but not all students over 16 signed up either. So, but I think Mr. Nedlick, I think we're probably around 150 maybe or so, 130.
A little less than 150.
Yeah, a little less. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions for Dr. Kelly? If not, we're going to move to the board member committee reports. Dr. Kelly mentioned about the Mayfield School Foundations. They raised $24,000. Great event. It was sold out. They did a great job in Bloom, and Jolene Grieve did a great job putting that together. I think everybody had a great time. It was fun. They had the online raffle that raised some more money. We did get a thank you note. I don't have it in front of me, for the board thanking us for purchasing a flag, sponsor flag. So we got that letter. I just want to let you know that we got a thank you note for that. And then next, I think, Sue, you wanted to update us on your virtual meeting that you attended with Senator Dolan about House
Yes.
Bill 1.
Yeah, it was a virtual town hall meeting. The presenting districts were North Olmsted, North Royalton, and Strongsville. And essentially the format was that the different districts presented what fair school funding plan looks like, and talked a lot about the equity and how they wanted to make sure that the tax burden wasn't overly on the local districts. Basically, this is this became House Bill 110 and was written into budget, but the big question mark is what's going to happen when it goes to the Senate. And so Matt Dolan was there listening, and after the presentation was over, he had some questions and some things that he was concerned about as to how the enrollment numbers are derived and whether they are good, solid numbers. He was also concerned about whether the elements that are requested as far as extra funding for special education, gifted, and so on would go to those areas. Basically, at the end of the meeting, as they were concluding, they were taking questions, and I did type in a question, which was, what do you need from us for you to feel confident in the numbers that are derived? And he basically said, great question, I don't know. And I think one of the things that's happening is a lot of people look at funding in a lot of different ways. And I think that it is really important for our citizenship to go ahead and make phone calls and write letters and get a hold of their senators and put some pressure on them to help them understand what needs to happen in order for the burden not to be as heavily on local districts as it is. As a representative of the district, they're listening to us as representatives, but we're one voice that's representing hundreds. And frankly, if they hear from hundreds of people and get lots of phone calls and emails, it will really assist in moving it forward and perhaps passing it in the Senate. As right now, it's not looking very favorable. The president of the Senate is Matt Huffman, and he is very interested in school choice. And frankly, if school choice continues on, it is something that will erode our public education further. Mr. Snyder, I don't know if there's some other things that you might want to throw in there, because I know Mr. Snyder and I had a conversation earlier today trying to make sense of everything and encourage people to please be loud and get your voices heard.
No, really nothing to add other than this fair school funding option is an improvement over the current plan. I think that's important to note. Secondly, while it will not solve Mayfield's problems, because it doesn't, it does give us a chance to realize additional revenue from Columbus. I mean, right now we receive approximately 4 cents of every operating revenue received. And that number is going to decline because the money we get currently is based on a formula that is fixed, meaning it's a zero-sum gain. for us. So this actually creates a formula that does benefit Mayfield. It does give us an opportunity to grow and modify as our tax base and our enrollment changes. So I would encourage the community to support House Bill 110 with the understanding that it's not going to solve Mayfield's problems entirely, but it is a step in the right direction and is very well thought out. And it was derived or developed through a lot of hard work from educators in collaboration with area legislators as well. So this is yet another Blue Ribbon Task Force. This is my 25th year in central office. I know slightly behind George, slightly ahead of Alan too. And we've had countless task force, and we've never really done anything. This is an opportunity. So I think support House Bill 110. And so you said it absolutely correctly. If the legislators hear from the community at large, it has a greater prospect of seeing passage at the state level. But very nicely done.
Please bother them as much as possible.
Very good. Any questions for Sue or Scott? All right. Thanks, Sue. Appreciate giving us that update. Our next item is item number 7, Superintendent's Consent Agenda, items A through R. I'll make the motion. Can I have a second, please?
So moved.
Roll call.
Mr. Hughes,
Yes.
Mr. Teresi,
Yes.
Mr. Finaro,
Yes.
Ms. Grosek,
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Our next item is other superintendent's business. Item A is the class of 2021 Mayfield High School graduates. Great list of graduates. I'll make the motion. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second, third.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Hughes,
Yes.
Mr. Teresi,
Yes.
Mr. Finaro,
Yes.
Ms. Grosek,
Yes.
and Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Under our category of Treasurer's Report, we have A, financial statements for March 31, 2020. I'll make the motion. We need a second.
So moved.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Hughes,
Yes.
Mr. Teresi,
Yes.
Mr. Finaro,
Yes.
Ms. Grosek,
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Our next item is item B, financial transactions. I'll make the motion. We need a second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Hughes,
Yes.
Mr. Teresi,
Yes.
Mr. Finaro,
Yes.
Ms. Grosek,
Yes.
and Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Next item C, donations. I'll make the motion. We need a second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Hughes,
Yes.
Mr. Teresi,
Yes.
Mr. Finaro,
Yes.
Ms. Grosek,
Yes.
and Mr. Hess.
Yes.
And the final item under this section, we have addendum number 1, donations. I'll make the motion. We need a second.
Second.
Mr. Hess. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hughes,
Yes.
Mr. Teresi,
Yes.
Mr. Finaro,
Yes.
Ms. Grosek,
Yes.
and Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Under item 10, treasurer's business, we have the minutes of our regular board meeting on March 17th, 2021. I'll make the motion. Could I have a second?
So moved.
Roll call.
Mr. Hughes,
Yes.
Mr. Teresi,
Yes.
Mr. Finaro,
Yes.
Ms. Grosek,
Yes.
and Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Thank you. Our next item is item B, 2021-22 health insurance rates. I'll make the motion. Could I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Snyder, I noticed that we saw a 2% change from this year to next year. That looks like it's lower than normal, than what we've seen in the past for an average. Can you give us an update on how that's looking for our staff?
Yeah, we're very pleased with the 2% rate, and it is below the norm Last year, if you'll recall, we had basically a 7% rate increase. That was pre-COVID. What we noticed was our claims activity was disrupted and continues to be disrupted because as the vaccinations occur and as the hospitals return to some sense of normalcy, we ended up with a surplus of excess reserves. And so in discussions with our healthcare committee, and I want to applaud them, it's a cross-representation of members of our bargaining units. We worked hand in hand, talked about how we could utilize those reserves. So the true rate increase was around a 6%, but we evaluated what we believe to be the pent-up demand that could hit between now and the next renewal period, which will be at this point next year, held some of that money back, and then we paid down the 4% difference to arrive at 2%. And I think that's a testament to collaboration. It's a testament to this district. I would say it's a testament to our negotiations process where we work together. And it's making certain that we're looking at the financial feasibility of the plan and maintaining solvency while also maintaining a plan itself that is in the best interest of our staff. So it's well, and to close, it's under the budget number that was anticipated. So we will also evaluate that within the impact of the 5-year forecast, which is a very good thing.
Great job. Yeah, and please let the health committee know that they did a great job with this.
Absolutely.
So we need to vote on that, correct?
Yes.
All right. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hughes,
Yes.
Mr. Teresi,
Yes.
Mr. Finaro,
Yes.
Ms. Grosek,
You're muted.
Sorry, yes.
and Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Thank you. And the next item, and thanks for that information, Mr. Slater. Our next item is provider appointment for school transportation driver physicals. I'll make the motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Hughes,
Yes.
Mr. Teresi,
Yes.
Mr. Finaro,
Yes.
Ms. Grosek,
Yes.
and Mr. Hess.
Yes.
The next item is excess workers' compensation insurance. I'll make the motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Hughes,
Yes.
Mr. Teresi,
Yes.
Mr. Finaro,
Yes.
Ms. Grosek,
Yes.
and Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Item E, our 2021-2022 consumable fees K through 12. I'll make the motion. Could I have a second?
So moved.
Roll call.
Mr. Hughes,
Yes.
Mr. Teresi,
Yes.
Mr. Finaro,
Yes.
Ms. Grosek,
Yes.
and Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Next item, the PSI Affiliates, Inc. agreement for summer camp in 2021. I'll make the motion. I need a second.
Second.
Third.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Hughes,
Yes.
Mr. Teresi,
Yes.
Mr. Finaro,
Yes.
Ms. Grosek,
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Next item, the PSI Affiliates, Inc. for the Corpus Christi. I'll make the motion. I need a second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Hughes,
Yes.
Mr. Teresi,
Yes.
Mr. Finaro,
Yes.
Ms. Grosek,
Yes.
and Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Next item, approval of capital lease for 10 buses. I'll make the motion. We need a second.
Second.
Mr. Finaro, if I may, quickly,
Yes,
if for the board's, I guess, benefit, this capital lease, I know since I've been here, we've been working very diligently to get our bus fleet in a position where every year we're replacing 3 buses. Therefore, it's within the useful life of the bus, and we're putting buses on the road that are more current, and therefore the repairs and improvement costs are less. We also leased 10 buses last year. And the benefit of a lease is you're not paying the full cost of the bus for the full cost of 9 buses, which are roughly $80,000 a piece. So without that capital outlay of almost $750,000, we're able to spread that over a 3-year period. And the cost of capital today is very low. So we're taking advantage of a good interest rate market, but more importantly, we're getting ourselves closer to that 3-bus replacement schedule, which we believe, and Mr. Nedlick and I have been working closely with Ms. Kaiser down in the Transportation Center, where we believe within a 2 to 3 year timeframe, we will be there. So this is a good step forward, and the money that we're using to pay this capital lease is coming out of surplus funds within the operating budget this year, because those are one-time dollars. This is a one-time expense. So trying to continue to use that matching principle so that we're not taking essentially one-time surplus dollars and attaching them to a permanent and ongoing expense. So we feel like this is very good utilization. And I don't know if Steve, if you want to comment on the buses at all.
No, Scott, thanks so much. You covered it very well. It's something Scott and I have been looking at for about 3 years now, trying to get ourselves on a natural cycle when it comes to the life expectancy of buses. So this is a great strategy, and we're excited about it.
At our meeting last week, you mentioned that the bus life was what, 10 years, was it? I can't remember. If it
It's
was
about 10.
10,
Yes.
depending on roads and all those other good conditions, salt and everything else. So, okay, it's a good program that you're getting us into, dealing with these buses. Thank you. Any questions? All right, we'll need a roll call, please.
Mr. Hughes,
Yes.
Mr. Teresi,
Yes.
Mr. Finaro,
Yes.
Ms. Grosek,
Yes.
and Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Our next item is our service agreement, Lake Geauga Computer Association. I'll make the motion. We need a second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Hughes,
Yes.
Mr. Teresi,
Yes.
Mr. Finaro,
Yes.
Ms. Grosek,
Yes.
and Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Our next item is addendum number 1, the minutes of our special board meeting on April 15th, 2021 and on April 21st, 2021. Addendum number 1. I'll make the motion. We need a second.
So moved.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Hughes,
Yes.
Mr. Teresi,
Yes.
Mr. Finaro,
Yes.
Ms. Grosek,
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Our next item is the walk-in addendum exit interview program. I'll make the motion. Could I have a second?
Second.
I want to say congratulations to the 21 staff who took this exit incentive. We appreciate everything you do and have done for our district, and enjoy the incentive and whatever you choose to do when you leave us here. But we appreciate everything you've done for us. I want to also say, Dr. Kelly and Mr. Snyder, Mr. Nedlick, the meeting last week when we detailed everything that you detailed everything that's going on there, I really appreciated all the information that you gave us dealing with the exit incentive, the cost savings, how it would affect this, the district. So thank you for providing that information to us. Any questions on this one? Roll call, please.
Mr. Hughes,
Yes.
Mr. Teresi,
Yes.
Mr. Finaro,
Yes.
Ms. Grosek,
Yes.
and Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Our next item is the walk-in addendum, construction manager at risk. I'll make the motion. Can we have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Hughes,
Yes.
Mr. Teresi,
Yes.
Mr. Finaro,
Yes.
Ms. Grosek,
Yes.
and Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Our next item, which is making the future look great for us. 2022 Spain and French trip for the Spanish and French language students. I'll make the motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Hughes,
Yes.
Mr. Teresi,
Yes.
Mr. Finaro,
Yes.
Ms. Grosek,
Yes.
and Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Our next item is authorization to expend board service funds in accordance with policy 6680 for staff appreciation. I'll make the motion. Could I have a second?
Second,
Roll call.
Mr. Hughes,
Yes.
Mr. Teresi,
Yes.
Mr. Finaro,
Yes.
Ms. Grosek,
yes.
and Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Our next item is one of 5 memorandum of understandings, or MOUs. So we have an MOU for that elementary schedule. I'll make the motion. Could I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Teresi. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hughes,
Yes.
Mr. Teresi,
Yes.
Mr. Finaro,
Yes.
Ms. Grosek,
Yes.
and Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Our next item is MOU for the secondary schedule. I'll make the motion. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Hughes,
Yes.
Mr. Teresi,
Yes.
Mr. Finaro,
Yes.
Ms. Grosek,
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Item E, our MOU for the secondary 6th class. I'll make the motion. We need a second.
So moved.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Hughes,
Yes.
Mr. Teresi,
Yes.
Mr. Finaro,
Yes.
Ms. Grosek,
Yes.
and Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Our next item is the MOU for the supplemental service schedule. I make the motion. Could I have a second?
Second,
Roll call.
Mr. Hughes,
Yes.
Mr. Teresi,
Yes.
Mr. Finaro,
Yes.
Ms. Grosek,
yes.
and Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Our next item is the MOU for the virtual instruction. I'll make the motion. Could I have a second?
Second.
Third,
Roll call, please.
Mr. Hughes,
Yes.
Mr. Teresi,
Yes.
Mr. Finaro,
Yes.
Ms. Grosek,
yes.
and Mr. Hess.
Yes.
And finally, we have the board policy, our final reading and adoption. We'll need to vote on this, so I make the motion. Could I have a second, please?
So moved.
Roll call.
Mr. Hughes,
Yes.
Mr. Teresi,
Yes.
Mr. Finaro,
Yes.
Ms. Grosek,
Yes.
and Mr. Hess.
Yes.
And before we adjourn, is there anything else for the good of the order? Everybody's good?
Yeah.
All right. Great meeting tonight. I'll make the motion for adjournment. Could we have a second?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Hughes,
Yes.
Mr. Teresi,
Yes.
Mr. Finaro,
Yes.
Ms. Grosek,
Yes.
and Mr. Hess.
Yes.
That's it. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Great job. Good night.